Presenter David Kolesnikow is the CEO and founder of Boomernology, a New York City-based IT company providing one-on-one technology support to baby boomers and seniors. Before starting in Boomernology, he spent 18 years as a senior paralegal in a major New York City law firms where he gained hands-on experience with technology. As phishers and hackers refine their deceptive techniques, we have Dave. We need people like Dave more than ever. So Dave, I turn it over to you.
Great, great. Thanks for Jeff. Thanks for having me, and thanks for COA for sponsoring an important event like this and a serious topic that involves baby boomers, seniors, and older adults. So if you want to just give me permission, and I'll share my screen, and we can get started. All right. So like Jeff mentioned, welcome everybody to tonight's webinar on online safety and the secrets of cybersecurity for peace of mind. I really appreciate you coming to be joining Jeff and I and COA for this very informative webinar. And we're going to go over some key points tonight on how you could be more aware when it comes to your own online safety and, recognize cyber threats and how to sort, hopefully, cyber thieves in your own online world. So what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, our 5 key points for tonight's agenda. We're going to start off with a little bit of introduction, and we're going to talk about understanding cybersecurity, the basics, and why you personally may be vulnerable to certain threats and fraud. Then I'm going to go into certain types of cyber threats, and I'm going to give you some concrete examples and some tips on how to recognize these threats and possibly thwart them. Then we're going to follow up with some password security and the importance of strong passwords, give you some tips for creating passwords. And then from there, we're going to learn about password management and how to manage your passwords to have a more secure management. And then from there, we're going to talk more about how to protect yourself online with some tips, including being more aware of the importance of software updates and Wi-Fi usage. And then we're going to round off the end of the webinar in this evening with some helpful resources, some essential next steps, a little bit of a conclusion, and then Jeff will round it off with us with a short Q&A. So let's get started. So who am I? There you go. That's me in a world full of paper. I'll get to that in a minute. So who am I? Like Jeff mentioned, hi everyone. My name is Dave Kolesnikow. I'm the founder and CEO of Boomernology. As Jeff mentioned, we're New York City's only personalized tech support company dedicated to helping baby boomers and seniors. We provide personalized help that makes tech simple and fun for older adults. A few fun facts about myself. You can see in the previous slide, that's me. I was a world-renowned document shredder, starting out at $18 an hour. As Jeff mentioned earlier, I worked my way through some major New York City law firms as a senior paralegal, working on all kinds of cases, bankruptcy, security litigation, white-collar crime, pro bono, arbitration. From there, I always had a knack and a love for technology, even when I was a kid. And when I was working at these firms and working on these major cases as a paralegal and a case manager, I had no choice. I had my feet to the fire, and I had to learn tech at a pretty rapid pace and hands-on. And with respect to my company, Boomernology, it all started a few years ago out of a severe accident while helping my cat sitter. He had an old phone with like about 6 years of like software updates, and I was able to fix one phone and another phone that led to a laptop, and then that led to a couple friends of hers. And I decided with some research I could make a business out of this and get a self-reward in helping baby boomers and seniors and older adults with their tech woes. So let's get started with cybersecurity. What is exactly cybersecurity? Well, we're going to talk about what its importance, and we're going to talk about how it impacts our daily lives. And so when it comes to cybersecurity, cybersecurity is essential for protecting our personal and financial information in the digital age. You see, cybersecurity prevents unauthorized access and attacks on systems and data and identifies the theft and investment fraud. And this is one point I'm going to probably hammer throughout the webinar, is that how does it impact our daily lives? Well, it all starts with us. It's our personal responsibility to be cautious about the information that we share online. as we're the first line of defense on deciding what information we're going to provide out there in the world. Okay. And when we do that, that's going to be our first line of defense against falling victims to such fraudulent activities. So you might ask, regarding cybersecurity, why may you personally, as an older adult, may be vulnerable to possible threats and fraud? Well, it's pretty simple. Why you? Well, statistics show that baby boomers and older adults are the second largest age population group in the United States, with the highest household net worth of any generation and a spending power close to $70 trillion. Baby boomers and older adults have also been shown to adopt key technologies, with 70% making a tech purchase in the past year, and projected by 2030 are on pace to spend an average of $108 billion annually on tech products. And that number has jumped significantly since the lockdown, being that a lot of older adults were forced to stay in their homes, and the only way they could communicate was through devices. Now, that's all well and good, but unfortunately, there's a downside, because even though there's been an increase in older adults purchasing such devices, they also been potential targets for cyber threats and fraud due to their lower tech savviness compared to younger generations who were born a device since day one. Now, you might ask yourself, what are the types of cyber threats and recognizing these threats? Well, we're going to talk about certain examples of various cyber threats, such as social engineering, phishing, malware, and ransomware. And with these examples, I'm going to give you some concrete examples of each type of threat, what they look like, and how to identify it and possibly thwart them, such as suspicious emails, unknown websites, and requests for personal information. Now, before we get started looking out for the cyber threats, let's learn more about cybercrime. What is cybercrime exactly? Well, cybercrime is a criminal activity involving a computer, network, device, or network. And you see cyber criminals use these various cyber threats, such as I mentioned earlier, social engineering, phishing, malware, and ransomware to generate profit and damage or disable devices. So let's start off with our first example, social engineering. What is social engineering? Well, social engineering is the art of manipulating people pretending to be someone else to obtain confidential information. So I wanted to provide everyone this evening with an example of social engineering. So if we look at this slide, you see here, this is a text that I received personally about a year ago. And if we can see here, I highlighted this box right here, and I'll let you know why I highlighted that. But if we can see here, I get a message. We regret to inform you that your Netflix membership has been placed on hold due to a request for billing information. So here's the social outreach. Hey, there's an issue with your Netflix. Well, there's a major red flag with this example, because I personally don't have a Netflix account. So that's a major red flag to start off with. The other one is if we can see here, everyone in the webinar, see this highlighted box, this address. It's not even a phone number on a text message, and it's not even a affiliated Netflix address. So as we scroll down further on the next slide in the message, there's a few other red flags here. If we can notice right here, everyone, there's a hyperlink. What is this hyperlink trying to get me to do? It's trying to bait me to click on this link, so that way I go to some site and I provide information to a group that's not even affiliated with Netflix. And the other red flag we can notice here is we can see that it's not really signed by Netflix services. I'm pretty sure we know people or had a Netflix account in the past, and Netflix services is not a signature. It's probably like admin or team or info@netflix.com. So these are definitely red flags to watch out for regarding social engineering examples that are trying to gather your information. So how can we thwart an example such as this? Well, what we could do is we could select it, right? Get the info, as I highlighted before. See, this is absolutely the wrong address here. I don't even know what that means. And then what we also could do is we can delete it and report it as junk. And this does two things. The first thing, it deletes it from our devices. The second thing is it's also sending information. For example, this is on my cell phone. So we're also notifying the cell provider, which could be, I don't know what you use, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Mint Mobile, whatever. Or you're notifying your cell provider, and you're also notifying the manufacturer of your phone, whether it be Apple or Android, and you're saying, hey, I'm getting these kind of messages. I want to let you know. And what they'll do is when you notify them, they're going to reach out to their security team and be on the lookout for these kind of messages. And then they'll hopefully be able to filter these out. Now, are all of these engineering examples 100% filter proof? No, but we have to be really proactive of what we're looking at and paying attention to what we read and hopefully not clicking. So this is one way we can thwart such a cyber threat. What's another example of a cyber threat, you may ask? Phishing. Phishing, yep, it's just like the actual phishing, right? So it's basically what phishing is. It's a cyber threat or an attack, which is sending fraudulent emails appearing to be from a trusted source in order to install malware or steal data. And I'll get to the malware and stealing data in a second. But basically what phishing does is it's just like a fisherman, right? With the bait, throwing it out there, trying to get you to bite on something and then hook you in. So let me just give you an example of phishing. If we can see here, this is my Gmail personal account. This is from like last year. And if you can see this highlighted email I have here, the reason I highlight this email out of all is because this is actually a close friend of mine. All right. This guy has his full name, and then it says, "Hi, David." And then in the subject line, I just have this link, and I have no idea what it is. Okay. Excuse me. So the first thing I want to do is I definitely don't want to click on the link, but I can preview the email. Okay. Once I preview the email, I notice a few red flags. One, as I mentioned earlier, this is my friend, but I know for a fact this is not his email address. And even if it was, I reach out to him and call him and say, "Hey, did you send me this?" And he would say no. So I know that's a major red flag. Then I have nothing in the message, his full name, and then I have this hyperlink trying to get me to link something to click on this link, which could lead to a possible malicious attack. And I'll get to that in a second. So these are the things that come with such as a phishing attack. It's basically trying to get you to bait by a name, maybe your job, a friend of yours, or a place you frequent, and then you say, "Oh, well, I know this restaurant or I know this art gallery, so this link has to be good." And this is where we really have to be proactive about verifying where these such emails come from. Okay, and as I mentioned before, you don't want to click on a link such as this. So why? Because that could lead to such thing as a malware attack or malicious software. And you may ask, what is malware? Well, malware is another cyber threat, cyber attack, which is known as malicious software, such as viruses, keyloggers, ransomware, and also worms and Trojan viruses that can disrupt or damage your computer. So let's go to an example of phishing that can lead to a possible malware attack. So like I said before, here's another view of my inbox. This is from last year. I had this email, and it's from admin owner for tips for an Amazon business. Red flag right off the bat. I don't have an Amazon business. So I know there's something, no pun intended, fishy about this, right? So I click this, I preview it. If we could see here, everyone, you can see this highlighted box. We can see admin owner news that seller agent never heard of it via a ridiculously long email address trying to bait me, okay? As I scroll down, now it's offering me these possible tools that I could use to take part of their services because I have a so-called Amazon business. So if you see here, I have this highlighted fill in the form. It's just like the phishing example. They want to try to click this on. Or the social engineering example, as I mentioned before, that's trying to gather information. But this could be a lot worse because if I click on this, this could lead to, unfortunately, a malicious attack. Another example are too good to be true offers. If we could look in this slide, everyone, we could see several red flags in this, okay? If you can notice here, web address, never heard of it. We could also look at that this site is not secure. I'll get to that later in the webinar. We could also see it's a too good to be true offer and a $1,000 Amazon gift card. Another red flag we could see here. We all received Amazon gift cards in the past, folks, right? Whether we bought one for someone or received one, this is such a knockoff of the design and the font. It has nothing to do with Amazon. And then what's another red flag we can notice here? This box here, trying to get me to click on to start a survey. And you don't want to do that. So another way that we could thwart these possible attacks and is definitely not to click on them, but as I mentioned before, we could delete the message, we could report it as spam, which way we could let our email providers know and their security team, and also to filter out such messages like this. Now, as I mentioned before, are they all 100% guard proof? No, but that's why we always have to have the keen eye out. And as I mentioned earlier in the webinar, it's up to us to be the first line of defense. But unfortunately, let's just say, to be quite honest, you have a bad day, or you're having a conversation with somebody, or you're looking at your phone and you just click on one of these things. Unfortunately, you can log into a malicious attack, and there's a bunch of ways to notice a malicious attack. I'll get to this example in a second, but one way you can notice if you
Questions are
had,
coming in too.
oh, please, please.
Okay, so one is, are phishing attacks, are phishing email attacks at random, or is there something I could have done somewhere on the internet that activated it?
Well, that's a great question. It's two things. So, unfortunately, the world we live in, Big Brother's watching, and your data is being shared. Okay, so unfortunately, that's how they're going to know. If you shop on Amazon all the time, Amazon shares data. Unfortunately, not to the bad guys, but things get leaked. So that's one way. Another way is not participating in, and I know it's from personal example. My mother's going to kill me for this, but participating in like free surveys because that's where they really share data. They don't tell you, but well, they'll give you a little disclaimer, and you just, whether like if you're voting on America's Got Talent or if you're on QVC, they tell you they don't share the data, but they do. And it's not necessarily to the bad guys, but sooner or later, some of that data is going to link. And it's not necessarily they're going to know your personal data, but they're going to know your tendencies. And that's why you might get these phishing links, right? They're just taking a risk. They're literally throwing it out there to see, hey, are they going to bite on this or not? And like I said earlier, you're the first line of defense. If you're not sure about it, delete it, right? Because if it's that important, if it's from someone you know, they're going to send it back to you, or they're going to call you or contact you and say, hey, I was trying to send you this link about this event that we should do together. Why did you delete the email or not get back to me? There, so I hope that answered that question.
Okay, and then we have another one. Are
Please.
how can these scammers get caught and punished?
Well, so I'll get to that later in the webinar because I'll provide resources, but unfortunately, nothing's 100% what's the word I'm looking for? Safe proof, right? So the only way you could be really proactive is, as I mentioned before, the first line of defense being really proactive in the information you put out there. And then the other thing too is not notifying if you get these kind of phishing things, delete it and report it as junk, delete it, report it as spam, notify your cell provider, notify the manufacturer of your phone. If it's your email, notify, your email provider, whether it's Gmail, Hotmail, AOL, whoever you use. And the other way is antivirus software, because antivirus software will run malware scams. Malware programs, and basically they'll do these sweeps and search for these, and then they'll extract them from your computer. Well, they'll notify. Well, first, I take a step back. I'm sorry. They'll notify you of these possible threats, and then they'll give you this little window to screen them. And let's just say it's something that you accidentally say, oh, no, that's definitely not an attack. I know where that's from. And you can, omit that one and delete the rest. So those are a few ways that you could be proactive. And then regarding reporting to people, you can report to, as I mentioned before, the cell provider, the security team. These are really slick people, and they're all over the world. They could be next to you in a coffee house, and I'll get to that later, but it's kind of tough. Another way is reporting to government agencies, and I'm going to share some agencies that you can take notes that if you or a loved one or a friend was a victim, you can go and report these people, and they'll take it from their end.
Okay, and another question. I see the free keylogger app is tagged as hide in uninstall list. So then
Exactly.
how can we search for these on the computer? Where can we see these malware so we can uninstall?
Well, that's the tricky part. So what you're seeing here, you necessarily would not see. So this is where I was getting at regarding a malicious attack. So
Hmm.
basically, like a keylogger, right? It's the back door to your computer. So you accidentally clicked on the Amazon link or the survey, and then what happens is this is an app like this would get downloaded into your computer or your device, and then it'll monitor your keystrokes. And these are the worst kind of malicious attacks because this is like someone sneaking in your home in the middle of the night through the backyard in the window and in the attic. You have no idea. No sound, no nothing. And what they do is they monitor your keystroke for an allotted time. It could be a day, a week, a month, 6 months, a year. And then what they'll do is they'll record it all as code, and then they decipher the code. And now you're privy to any type of attack because they have all your information. And the only way, as I mentioned earlier, is having really good antivirus software and being proactive, being really cautious about the information you share. And if you're not sure about a link, there's nothing wrong with deleting it. You know, it's better to be safe than sorry. If like I saw something the other day telling me that my I had unusual Twitter activity, and I just deleted it. I didn't care. I was like, if it's that important, then I guess Elon Musk will get back to me.
Hmm.
So
So how to get rid of them and how to look for them.
great. So what we could do is, as I mentioned earlier, there's great antivirus programs out there such as McAfee and Norton. And what you do is you purchase them online, they install on your computer, and what they do is they run these full deep scans, depending on how large your computer is and how much space you have. And they basically go through every single file and through your entire computer. And what they'll do is they'll extract the threat. Now, the next example I'm going to get to is a whole other worst case scenario. But the best way to be really proactive is you could install one of these antivirus programs, and it'll run this malware scam. I'm sorry, malware scan, and it'll extract the threats, and then it'll put them in a separate window, and then you just it'll delete it forever. And then what you could do is you could set up your antivirus for automatic scans. So every morning or every day when you turn on your computer, it'll run this quick scan to let you, and then you'll get like a pop up, no threats detected. And they're really intuitive. They're really easy to use. It's not as hard. And their customer support is great.
Hmm.
I'm not on the payroll for full disclosure.
So,
So,
so scan using the antivirus.
mhm, absolutely. And as like I said, the two big ones out there, it's like Mercedes, BMW, apples to oranges. So McAfee, um, I'm about the paid ones than the free ones, but that's my own opinion. But I personally use Norton, but McAfee is great as well. Um,
Cool. I
okay.
think I get it. I think I could get McAfee because of my cell phone plan. They're
Oh,
throwing a lot of
absolutely.
free
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
There's all types of specials, and
Hmm.
the more you pay up front, like the more years you get in advance, and it's prorated, so it actually turns out cheaper in the long run. And you might get like these 1 day offers, like, oh, if you had it for 6 months, how's it working out? We'll give you an extra year for 50 off. So, but like you were mentioned before, Jeff, with the malware, sometimes it doesn't work the way it planned, because if you click on a malware, it could also lead to ransomware, which is also going into another type of cyber threat and an attack. And I've seen numerous of these with my own clients, and that's where the malicious attack or the virus gets downloaded into your computer. And then what happens? You get one of these awful messages. It could be a skull, crossbones. It could be a pornographic image with some really loud, like annoying sounds. And basically, they tell you your computer's been hacked, your device is frozen, and unless you pay, $100, $500, 1,000, they'll unlock your computer, and you have no idea how they're going to unlock your computer or not. And unfortunately, the only way to do that is to like deep clean um, your computer, and hopefully your virus protection can extract the malicious software. If not, unfortunately, you might have to take it to a tech support expert in repair and see if they can extract it. And if they can't, the worst case scenario, unfortunately, is they'll have to just wipe clean your computer, and then you would just have to reboot it and restart everything from scratch. And that's the worst case scenario. And, it's pretty awful, but I've seen those happen a lot.
So that's an argument to
But
keep things in the cloud just so that you have a backup.
yeah, well, me personally, I'm big about a hard backup and a soft backup, and the soft backup is the cloud. There's nothing wrong with being twice as safe. So me, I use an external hard drive, have cloud backup, So in fact, I actually have it on three. I have two external hard drives and a cloud backup, but everybody's different. I know some people are really overcautious, like OCD, and they have five. They have like their computer backed up on five hard drives. That's like just a little too much. But
And another question is asking, is using an Apple computer any safer?
um, you know, these days, I mean, it uses a different operating system. Is it still susceptible to hacks? Sure, because just like you have experts in PC, you also have experts in Mac. So you definitely I personally, knock on wood, haven't had a really bad security hack. I accidentally clicked on a link, but luckily enough, my antivirus was able to extract it. And I know Mac definitely uses the firewall, which is really good internal security. And you want to make sure you have that on in your system preferences. So, but like I said before, nothing is 100% safe. I can say that. So, I mean, listen, we read numerous stories of government agencies, slaughterhouses, fashion boutiques being hacked, and their computers held for ransom. So anybody could get hacked. It's just
Okay.
being proactive and doing the best you can.
All right. I hope we're not holding you back. It's
No,
a
no,
little
no.
after
I mean, listen,
7:30.
that's why I'm here. And then we could get into also the Q&A. Like we talked about this just the past 5 minutes, but like I said before, we have to be really proactive as about us putting out our information. And that also goes with respect to our social media and our networking. And as we mentioned earlier, emails. If you're going to use social media, limit the amount of personal information that you post, and you always use like the highest privacy settings. Like Jeff was talking before about being proactive. Know your inner circle. Know the people that you contact and share with on social media. Like I mentioned earlier, if you get something from an unknown sender, like a link in your Facebook or Instagram account, delete it. If it's a friend, an actual friend of yours, you could always call them and confirm them. If it's an offer, like I said before, with the too good to be true free gifts, delete it, because 10 out of 10 times it is too good to be true. And all they want is your personal information, and that could lead you to a cyber attack. Now, being that we're halfway in, let's also talk about passwords. I know a lot of people are not a fan of passwords. I know that personally with my clients, but I wanted to talk about password security and the importance of strong passwords, tips for creating them, and using strong password managers for more secure management. Regarding passwords and management, we have to be really proactive about our passwords. I know there's a lot of people, I know my mother personally, like you might have one single password of a dog, a cat, your favorite grandkid, your favorite movie, and you have it on 40 different accounts. To be honest, it's not a good idea. Why? Because that leaves you privy to attacks. If they're going to attack that account and you're using the same username and password, the other 40 accounts are probably going to get hacked in succession. How can we be real proactive with passwords? Use something that's 8 characters long. Use a combination of numbers, letters, symbols. If you don't know how to think about that, why not take a passage from your favorite book, a lyric of your favorite song? For example, I tell my clients, go to one of your favorite books or magazines, highlight a passage, put a little note in the book, put it on your shelf. If you get stuck, you can't remember, at least you can go back to that book with that little note, right? Instead of you trying multiple times and unfortunately getting locked out of your account. Another way is two-step verification, which is like another wall of security. You go, let's just say, for example, like Chase, you log in, right? Before you even go to your account, you get a text message from Chase and they say, did you just log in? Yes, right? Okay, well, enter this 6-digit, 8-digit code. You put the code in, next thing you know, you have access to your account. So that's another layer of security. Another way, and this is a more physical thing about being proactive regarding passwords and management, your devices. You want to keep them around your person at all time. I mean, I'm pretty sure we live in New York or wherever. We see people they're nonchalant. They have their phone hanging outside their bag that's zipped open, or you see these kids with the phone hanging out of their back pocket. You can get pickpocketed, or you see a couple ladies or a gentleman and they're at a wine bar and they have the phone laying on a table where if there's foot traffic walking by. And me personally, I know someone, they put their phone down at the bar, went to the bathroom, the phone was gone. And in that case, it doesn't take long for, one of these people to just hack your phone and there's all your information because you basically hand it over to them. So it's really important to keep your devices at in your possession at all times. Another way, avoid using multiple pieces of paper and napkins. Once again, my mom's going to kill me, but she's privy to this too, because she writes it on cards, napkins, back of folders, shoved somewhere. That's all well and good, but what happens if you spill something, or what happens, your pet decides to chew on it, or your grandkids are somewhere and they're playing somewhere they have no business playing, they rip it up. So you have to be really proactive on where to store passwords. So you might ask, well, how am I going to store my passwords in a neat place? Well, you can invest in a password manager. There's free options. There's paid options such as Google, NordPass, Keeper, and as I mentioned earlier with Jeff before, Norton Antivirus and McAfee provide awesome password managers where you basically, it's like a safe deposit box, right? So the master password is your key, right? You unlock it, you have all your passwords in there, and you could sort them by name, location, alphabetical order, numerical order. If you're too lazy to create a password, they have a great thing called the password generator. You click on a little icon, creates the password. So these are some options about basically how to create strong passwords and how to store them so you have a more secure password management.
Now here's a new question.
Good.
Unusual too. Wow. My insurance company offered insurance for digital security. Do you have any experience or thoughts on this?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? Oh, they offered you virus protection? Is that what he's saying?
Insurance for digital security is what it said.
For like, I understand it. Like if you were a victim of theft or fraud, that's a great question. I personally, I would not have the answer for that because I've never dealt with that insurance side, more of not digital theft, but physical theft, as in obviously devices and laptops.
Mhm.
But I know I do have some resources at the end of the webinar that you can contact and they can let you know. Definitely the elder fraud care hotline. They would definitely, because they have actual like attorneys and these volunteers that if you were a victim of fraud, they review your case by case basis and they would tell you what the next steps are that you could take.
I think that we live in America, and if there's something that can be monetized, it will be. That's just my personal
Absolutely.
opinion.
It would have surprised me. It's the next thing. I have a friend who's in insurance, so I'll pass that to him tomorrow. That'll be a new coffee house idea when we're sitting there. Another way about being really proactive regarding online safety is how to protect yourself online, and I'm going to provide some tips, and I'm going to talk more about some software updates and how to use your Wi-Fi properly. I know everybody's going to hate the word software update because when you really need to use your device, that pops up. But I'm going to let you know why software updates matter. It's a couple things. Protection against the latest threats. As I mentioned earlier, right? You have these security teams. on your devices, that their job is to hack into the stuff that they are for the people they work for. And when they do that, they come across these bugs, fixes, mistakes. And what they do from there is they update with these essential security patches that protect your devices from the latest cyber threats and vulnerabilities. But these don't work unless you install these software updates. So that's why these are created. Another thing is improved performance. Software updates matter because when you have these updates, they also come with these bugs that fix and enhance the overall performance of your and stability of your device. So, for example, like today, my girlfriend, her email wasn't working, and there was this log jam. And I noticed that she didn't update her software. So even though the emails were there, being that she didn't have the software update, they were lagging behind. So once she had the software update, all the emails were able to catch up to speed because the performance and the stability of the device was upgraded through the software update. And then another reason why software updates matter is new features. I know Apple recently, when they went from 17 to 16, they had these like cool things where like you could turn the side of your phone and it looks like an alarm clock. And then they had new things for like facial recognition regarding your photos, but they don't work unless you update the software. So you kind of lag behind. So you might be with a friend and you're like, oh, do you see this new thing on Apple? And you say no. And you're like, well, you're kind of like behind the eight ball because they're more up to date than you. So you want to be able to update your software so you can use these new improvements to enhance your own user experience. The other thing too, as I mentioned before, like with you, Jeff, and everybody else in the webinar, software updates are key in your virus protection because with your antivirus software, if your software is not up to date, your antivirus software is not going to run properly, and that you could be susceptible to attack. Antivirus programs are great. Like I was saying before, they provide these password managers, and they also provide cool things like VPNs, which are virtual private networks, which I'll get to in a second. But before that, let's talk about, being more cautious and proactive when it comes to our Wi-Fi. Regarding public Wi-Fi, don't want to use public Wi-Fi. I had a client, Union Square, was looking at their investment account, got hacked, lost $45,000. Thank God they were able to get it back. Use a virtual private network. They're easy to install. They're not that expensive. And basically, it's your own private tunnel. Your signal bounces. People don't know your location, so they can't really hack. It's really difficult to hack onto your system. If you're going to go on public Wi-Fi, don't go on public Wi-Fi. Use your own personal Wi-Fi through your cell phone carrier. They all provide them, and they're either free or a little add-on. If you invite your friends over for a party and they invite friends of theirs, create a guest password. Why? Because you might not know this other person or your neighbors. They might take your Wi-Fi and run their streaming behind your back. So what you could do is you could create a guest password. My girlfriend and I, we have parties, we'll create a guest password such as like Wine Party 2023. And then when everybody leaves from the party, delete the password. And then when people come and they go, oh, is this your Wi-Fi password? You say, no, we have a new one. And you give it to them. So these are a few ways that we could be really proactive for online safety when it comes to our Wi-Fi. As I said before and throughout the whole webinar, be proactive. Don't go on public computers. Don't use the FedEx computer. Don't use the UPS store computer. Don't use the computer at the New York Public Library or whatever public library. And divulge your personal information because you never know who's on the other end. You don't know if the network is that secure. You don't want to give personal information such as health information, bank account, social security, date of birth, and other personal information, unknown sources.
Someone added, better yet, create a guest Wi-Fi with limited capabilities.
Absolutely, you could do that too. 100%. What's another thing? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, as I was saying before, paying bills online, don't copy and paste the web address from an email, actually type it in. If you're going to pay PSE&G, type in the actual address for PSE&G, because all it takes is one character or one numeric numeral, and it might take you to another site, and you might be privy to a cyber attack. Stopping is another way we can be proactive when it comes to online safety. Regarding, typing in the actual address, as we can see here, when you type in the actual address, I put Nike here in the example. You want to click on the left side for the padlock, make sure it's secure. When you click that down, you get a little notification letting you know that it's Nike. It's actually Nike. Your connection is secure. They have a secure certificate. They let you know that your information, such as your passwords, credit card number, are secure to purchase on their site. So this is another way to be really proactive online, especially when you're shopping. Now we're heading towards the end of the webinar. And as I mentioned earlier with Jeff and your awesome questions this evening, I wanted to provide you some helpful resources regarding if someone's trying to hack you or you've been hacked, or how to get the bad guys. So let's start with that. Unfortunately, what to do if you get hacked. To be honest, it sucks. I've been hacked. I had a friend that's been hacked. I have clients that have been hacked. If you suspect a hack, first thing you could do is disconnect from your cell provider or the internet. As I mentioned before, you can run a malware scan, virus scan, change your passwords, notify the authorities, notify your bank, credit card company, your other accounts, your healthcare portal. So these are ways you can be really proactive if you get hacked. As I mentioned with Jeff before we got on live with the webinar, these are some of the resources that I wanted to share with everyone this evening. Department of Homeland Security has a great site. It's a global aligned safety awareness for cyber threats. It's great. Stop, Think, Connect. It's like the same thing as Stop, Drop, and Roll when it came to fire safety, if you guys remember that. Anti-phishing Working Group, APWG. It's a nonprofit industry. This is great. Like our one person that was kind enough to bring up that question about looking out for phishing. If you go on that site, they give you great examples of all types of phishing threats and new ones that are out there and how we could be wary. The Department of Justice provides an awesome site for consumer protection, showing the new scams are out there or ones before, and they give you resources if you were a victim of fraud and how you could take action. A few others, we have the Internet Crime Complaint Center, which is a joint task force with the National White Collar Crime Center and the FBI. So as the other person was kind enough with your question, how to get the bad guys? Well, this is how to get the bad guys, is reporting them to the FBI and letting them know that this kind of activity is going online. As I mentioned before with Jeff earlier in the webinar, the Elder Fraud Hotline through the Department of Justice, staffed by professionals, including attorneys that help other adults or assisting loved ones of older adults and caregivers. And they talk you through the steps of filing a complaint. And then they go by case basis and provide you the necessary connection and resources of what are the next steps if you were a victim or elder fraud, or how to stop it. And then rounding off, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. They're really big about exposing and putting a stop and thwarting unfair and fraudulent and deceptive business practices out there in the marketplace. And they provide you information and necessary steps to us to see these things online and how to report them. So we're headed towards the conclusion here. Before we get to that, I just want to thank you all again for being so gracious with your time. And I just wanted to go over a few things about what we talked about and just round off the end of the webinar. So what did we talk about tonight? Well, we talked about what is cybersecurity and how important it is and how to recognize it in protecting yourself regarding online threats, regarding your devices. We also talked about the types of cyber threats and the examples I was able to provide you, and I hope they're really useful. We talked about how to protect yourself from cybercrime by using strong passwords, creating passwords, password management, the importance of software updates, installing software updates, the importance of antivirus software, and how to be really proactive when we shop, and using your Wi-Fi, whether it's in your home or in the public. And then to round off this evening, we discussed the importance, and as I said it before, and throughout the whole webinar, you and I were the first line of defense in the information that we provide out into the world. So it's really important about being proactive. And hopefully I was able to provide everyone this evening with resources from such government agencies, fraud hotlines, and consumer protection agencies. So with that being said, once again, guys, everybody's been great. Thank you so much for taking the time on a Wednesday night to be a part of tonight's webinar. And I think you being here this evening, you took the necessary steps to protect your digital identity and to stay safe. And I'm really proud of you guys, and it makes me really happy to share this information with you. So I'm pretty much done on my end, Jeff. If you want to start some more Q&A, open for it.
Sure. Well, we have a good question here. Is
Okay.
buying refurbished computers and phones also a threat to your security?
Me personally, I'm not a fan of it because I've had people in the past that they bought it from eBay. If you get it from a like authorized reseller, they give you like these certifications, and they actually like literally like take the computer apart and they refurbish it, right? Whereas like if you buy it somewhere like, you know, I have a client that she was trying to buy a phone on eBay, and I said to her, you have no idea where that phone's coming from. You don't, you know, and let's just say, you know, they put their SIM card in. You have no idea where that SIM card's from. I'm not anti refurbished products, no, because a lot of the companies, Mac sells refurbished products, Best Buy sells refurbished products, Amazon, and they also, you know, they give a guarantee, they give you a warranty. I think like it's 1 year.
Okay, and someone asked if the recording of this event, which is being recorded, will be
Yes.
available. And yes, it will be. And I also have permission to share your slides with everyone who attended. So
Absolutely. Like I said, I
there you
really
go.
hope the information was helpful, and everybody's more than welcome to. And also, when you get towards the end of the presentation, you'll see a research from the slide, and there's some really great articles about, you know, the significance of technology with older adults, especially with baby boomers and seniors. So I'm glad to share that information.
Yeah, you had one slide, I believe it included using a VPN, virtual private network,
Yep.
or using your cell phone's hotspot
Hotspot.
for
Yep.
cyber security. So, does that mean that you could use your phone's hotspot instead of your own Wi-Fi or internet, and it'll be
Oh,
safer than doing that?
well, what you could do is like, so for example, like if you're in the park and you actually have to do work or whatever, and let's just say you have your computer, you know,
Mhm.
and you need Wi-Fi, instead of using the public Wi-Fi, you could use your actual cell phone as a personal hotspot. And then the security is encrypted security provided by the cell phone provider. So I have AT&T, so AT&T has a hotspot. You know,
Oh,
and then
great.
you could also buy hotspots. They're not cheap, to be honest. A really good one. I mean, I have a couple for the business, you know, and they're like, you know, $400 or $500, but it's like the highest security. But it's great because when I go see clients and we're in a public place, we just use that, and it's just like being in my office.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I think some of the resources that you gave us will answer the following question, but maybe you have some more tips. Any suggestions on how to continue to educate ourselves about
Oh,
cybersecurity or how
absolutely.
to be safe?
Absolutely. If you go on YouTube and just Google like um if you really want to like nerd out, there's like a 13-hour course of cybersecurity. But if you don't have that much time in your life, um, there's a lot of young kids out there with some brilliant cybersecurity lookout videos, and they'll talk you through it. They'll say, "Oh, hey, this is the phishing example, and this is what to look out for," and oh, what to do if my computer was hacked. So, yeah, it's great. There's a lot of young kids out there providing really, really useful information. You just have to like look into search terms for that. So you could type like I gave you the four, right? I gave you social engineering. I gave you phishing, malware, and ransomware. If you type those and type, ransomware, how to stop it, or phishing, how to thwart it. And like I said before, YouTube provides hours of countless references.
And where
That's a
can you
great
get
question.
news? Where can you get news about the recent cyber events? Where do you get your news about the recent cyber events?
Me personally, I love going. No affiliation. I like going on TechCrunch. I go on CNET. I go on the basically the big tech news sites, and then also I look at my Twitter feed. So I follow like a lot of heavy hitters in the tech field, and I see what they're reading these days. So whether it's Sam Altman and AI and Elon Musk, and then you just start scrolling down and you see these other people that they follow, and then you just these are world renowned people in the field, and you read what they read, so you could be more up to speed.
Okay. Conveying some thanks here from Ruth. Thank you, very informative.
Thank you,
And
Ruth.
from Samantha, thanks so much. Great information.
Thanks, Samantha.
And I see another question popping up. Can you compare the safety of using a physical ID, for example, thumbprint or eyes, to an alphanumeric password?
Wow. All right. Now we're going to take it to another level. So the new computers now, all like the new laptops, like definitely like the Macs and the PCs, they have the fingerprint reader, right? So you could do that. They also, the new laptops now, they have the facial recognition, just like the Face ID. I mean, yeah, everyone's different. I mean, I know some people, to be honest, they don't trust the facial thing, or they can't stand it. I know my mother can't stand that. She can't stand that. She just puts a long password in her phone. She's like, I'm not doing that. You know what?
Yeah.
So,
I heard if
but
someone looks like you, a face could be a detriment. And I also heard that, once you put your finger on the thing, it just transmits your password wherever it's going. So you have to make sure that you are on a secure network whenever
correct.
you use anything sensitive or detailed
Sure.
that requires your password. So
All
yeah,
right.
I know someone who
And
went
like I said earlier, oh, I'm sorry.
to a park, uh, and they used the park's non-secure Wi-Fi. One way that you can know that it's not secure is that it doesn't require a password. And
Right.
they
Oh no.
experienced fraud in all of
Yeah,
their investment accounts, their retirement accounts. So you have to make sure that it requires a password for sure, right? That's one thing.
absolutely.
The public
Absolutely.
Wi-Fi.
And to be honest, these days, like not to scare people, but like sometimes, you know, passwords aren't that safe because, like I said, nothing's 100% safe. That's why you have to have that extra layer of security. Two-factor authentication. Like for example, if you go on Google, right? You go to log into Google and you put your username, you put your email address, and then you put your password. You get a thing from Google that says, "Did you just log in at 7:58 p.m.?" And they have a "Yes, it's me," or "No, it's not me," and then that will get reported automatically to their security team. Another thing they have is they have like, I don't know if you saw, but like they have like the three numeric numbers. So on your screen, you'll have 11, 12, and 77. And then they'll say, look at your phone and what number appears. Type that number in and say, on your phone is 77. And you type that in. And basically, that's the two-factor authentication. And Um, forget. I'm sorry. Who wrote the one about where I get my information? Carlton. Oh, about
Hmm.
you know, getting hacked. The new thing now about getting where I get my information from. TechCrunch had an article about the opposite side where you get a phone call from PayPal security team or whatever financial institution, and they give you a numerical code, right? And then they just say, okay, give us this code that we just texted you, and then you give the code back, and then they're able to hack it to your phone through the SIM card.
Wow.
Yeah,
All
that's a
right.
new thing now. I mean, it's not new. It's just there's there's a buzz
They
about it,
they keep refining what they're doing. Yeah, they
right?
keep getting better at it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So,
why I said before, there's nothing is 100% because there's.
mhm.
But Jeff, once again, I want to thank you and COA, Coming of Age for sponsoring this event, and like I said, everybody else for being here, sharing your Wednesday night on a very important topic. And like I said, I repeated the whole night. You're the first line of defense, so just be really proactive about the information you share. And if you could send that message to your loved ones or someone older, that would help a lot.
All right. Well, thanks a lot once again, Dave,
Thank you,
and
Jeff.
thanks everyone for attending. Take care now.